You know how you can be just like scrolling through your feed and you linger on, I don't know, one single video of someone complaining about a terrible first date.
Oh, yeah. And then suddenly for the next week, your entire feed is just a relentless stream of dating horror stories.
Exactly. It's ridiculous.
It is, because the algorithm, it just notes the lingering attention. It doesn't actually analyze whether that video made you laugh or if it made you anxious or, miserable.
Right. It doesn't care about your feelings at all.
No, not even a little bit.
Yeah.
It simply registers your focus, and then it basically reorganizes your entire digital environment to serve you more of that exact frequency.
It is a perfectly engineered feedback loop. But today, we're exploring a concept that takes that exact mechanism and scales it up to a completely mind-bending level.
Yeah, we are.
Because what if that algorithmic loop isn't just how social media works? What if that is the literal operational blueprint of reality itself?
That is the core premise we are unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive into the foundational mechanics of how human beings actually shape their reality.
Yeah.
And we're drawing heavily from the legendary teachings of Wayne Dyer.
Specifically his work, The Power of Intention and Manifesting Higher Energy. Right?
Exactly.
And just to be clear on our mission for you today, for everyone listening, we are going to decode 4 massive mental traps that are making you accidentally attract the very things you desperately do not want.
Which is a trap most of us fall into daily.
Literally daily.
Yeah.
And then we're going to uncover some ancient, highly specific strategies to break that loop and take absolute control of your life.
And I think it's worth establishing right out of the gate that Dyer's philosophy is a massive departure from the more superficial trend of just wishing for things.
Oh, totally. That is such an important distinction because, if you spend any time online, you've seen the whole lucky girl syndrome aesthetic.
Right, the journaling and the vision boards.
Yeah. You see people talking about manifesting a text back or a new car just by writing it down 3 times. And those trends are catchy, but Dyer's work provides the actual profound mechanics underneath it all.
It's not magic.
No, this isn't about wishing. It's about a radical, almost ruthless shift in where you direct your internal attention.
And to understand the mechanics of how this works, we really have to look at the scientific and philosophical foundation that Dyer builds upon. He connects his work deeply to David Hawkins' landmark book, which is called Power versus Force.
Okay, let's pause and unpack that foundation then, because if we are going to tell people that they are accidentally manifesting their own misery, we need to explain the how.
Fair point.
What exactly did David Hawkins prove that Dyer uses as his baseline?
So Hawkins proposed a scale of consciousness based on the idea that every single thought you have is an actual measurable physical energy.
Like scientifically measurable.
Yes, and he demonstrated this through kinesiology, basically muscle testing.
Okay, how does that work?
The premise is that if you hold a thought of shame or guilt, apathy, fear straight, your physical body literally goes weak.
Really?
Yeah. If someone pushes down on your arm while you hold a genuinely fearful thought, your muscle just gives out. It can't resist.
Wow. So a negative thought isn't just a fleeting mood. It has an immediate physical consequence on your biology.
Precisely. And conversely, if you hold a thought of courage or acceptance or love, your physical body is measurably stronger. Hawkins mapped this all out.
So it's about frequencies.
Exactly. Anger and fear vibrate at a very low frequency.
Oh.
Love and peace vibrate at a high frequency. And Dyer takes this physical reality and applies it to the universe at large, because everything is energy.
So if you constantly broadcast a low, weakening frequency, the algorithm of reality serves you a reality that matches it.
Exactly that.
If I am operating from a baseline of fear, my reality basically becomes a horror movie algorithm.
That is a great way to put it. And that brings us to what Dyer calls doing a somersault into the inconceivable.
I love that phrase.
Right. Before we can start manifesting the life we actually want, we have to audit our energy. We have to stop the accidental negative manifestation loop that most of us are just running on autopilot. We have to identify the roadblocks.
Which leads us directly into Dyer's first major obstacle to intention, and that is putting your attention on what is missing.
Oh, yes.
And we are all incredibly guilty of this. Think about your group chats.
The default mode of communication is often just venting.
Literally, you complain about how broke you are or how you don't have a good partner or how your apartment is too cramped. You talk about it over coffee, you obsess over it on your commute, and then you literally go to sleep stewing in the energy of what you lack.
And when we view that behavior through the lens of the Hawkins energy scale, it becomes kind of terrifying.
It really does.
Because if your dominant internal frequency is missing, the universe simply replies, understood, serving you more missing.
Right.
Dyer is very explicit here. You cannot put your conscious energy on what is missing unless you genuinely want your life to remain empty.
That makes logical sense when we talk about desires, like wanting a better apartment. But Dyer's second obstacle feels much more difficult to avoid because it deals with what is currently happening to you right now.
You mean focusing on what is.
Right. He warns against putting your thoughts on what is when you actively despise it.
Fixating on negative present circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dyer uses a brilliant, highly relatable example from everyday life for this. The Monday morning sniffle.
Oh, this example is so incredibly human. You wake up on a Monday and you have like a slight tickle in your nose.
Right. And for most people, the mind immediately projects a disastrous future based on that tiny present reality.
Oh, 100%. You think, okay, my nose is stuffed. Tomorrow it's going to move to my throat. By Wednesday, it's going to be a deep chest cough.
Thursday, I'll be running a fever, and I'm definitely going to have to burn a sick day on Friday.
Exactly. It's Monday at 8 a.m., and your brain has already fully lived the experience of being bedridden on Friday. You've mapped out the entire downward spiral.
You've just poured immense focused energy into the circumstance of being sick. And he actually shares another anecdote from his clinical practice that drives the danger of this home even more.
Oh, the dating one?
Yes. He treated Emmon, who had gone through a really painful divorce, and about 7 months later, she started dating again. She went on 4 dates with 4 entirely different men.
Okay.
And every single one of them mistreated her in the exact same way.
And she wanted Dyer to analyze the men, right?
She did. She thought she just had terrible luck with the dating pool. But Dyer pointed out that the only common denominator in those 4 dates was her.
Ouch.
Yeah, he called it the job effect, referring to the biblical figure who said, "That which I greatly feared has come upon me." She was entering those dates entirely consumed by the fear and expectation of being used.
So she pulled that exact frequency into her reality. Okay, I need to play devil's advocate here for a second, because if you are listening to this deep dive on your way to a job you absolutely hate, or if your bank account is genuinely overdrawn, this can sound a lot like toxic positivity.
Sure.
Isn't it borderline delusional to just ignore reality? Like, if I am legitimately broke, how do I just not focus on what is?
That is the critical distinction Dyer makes, and it's where the nuance really matters. It is not about ignoring the facts.
Okay.
If your bank account is at 0, that's a mathematical fact. Dyer isn't telling you to pretend you are a millionaire and go buy a sports car on credit.
Right. Don't be delusional.
The issue is letting your inner energy be completely consumed by the despair of the problem.
So break that down for me. What is the difference between acknowledging a problem and being consumed by it?
It comes down to observation versus immersion. Dyer was actually deeply mentored by Abraham Maslow.
Wait, Maslow, the hierarchy of needs guy.
Yes, the foundational psychologist who studied self-actualization. And there's a wild piece of synchronicity here, actually.
I love this stuff. What is it?
Maslow passed away on June 14th, 1970. And that was during the exact same hour that Dyer was walking across the stage at Cobo Hall in Detroit to receive his PhD.
No way. That is an unbelievable detail.
Yeah, Dyer always felt Maslow metaphorically passed the baton to him in that exact hour. Anyway, Maslow observed that highly functioning, self-actualizing people share a distinct trait. They must be what they can be.
Meaning what? Exactly.
Meaning they refuse to fixate their mental energy on what is, if they dislike it. Dyer expands on this by saying you cannot solve a problem with the same mind that created it. Your mind, your past energetic choices, created the situation you currently call a problem. If you obsess over the lack, you'll lock your brain into the exact frequency of the problem.
I see. So if I stare at my empty bank account and cry on the couch, my brain is operating on the frequency of broke.
Yes.
And the ideas, the motivation, the energy required to actually generate income simply cannot exist on that low-tier frequency. I have to acknowledge the zero balance, but immediately shift my energetic focus to the intention of finding a solution.
Exactly. You shift your focus from the anchor to the sail.
I love that. Okay, so that covers our present reality. But let's say I manage to stop dwelling on my current empty bank account. What happens when my brain decides to, pull up the receipts of the last 10 years of my life to prove to me that I'm just fundamentally bad with money?
Right, the history trap.
How does Dyer account for our past?
That is the third massive obstacle to manifestation, putting your energy into what always has been. We allow our history to act as the primary blueprint for our future.
Dyer uses a metaphor here that completely rewired how I view the past. I want to try and visualize this for everyone listening.
Go for it.
Imagine you are standing on the deck of a boat and you are speeding up a river at like 40 knots. If you go stand at the very back of the boat, the stern, and you look down into the water, what do you see?
You see the wake, the churning trail of water left behind by the boat.
Right. The wake is just the water that was disturbed by the vessel passing through it. And Dyer asks this incredibly profound question. He asks, what is driving the boat? Does the wake drive the boat?
And from a physics standpoint, that is impossible.
Exactly. The trail left behind cannot propel the boat forward. The only thing driving the boat is the present moment energy being generated by the engine room right now.
And when we map that metaphor onto human behavior, it exposes a massive illusion that most of us operate under.
Yeah.
We sincerely believe that because we have failed in the past or because we have struggled with anxiety for a decade, that this history is the engine of our future.
We literally say things like, well, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Or, this is just the kind of person my family is.
So staring at the wake, obsessing over your past mistakes or how things have always been, is basically like screaming at the water you've already passed while your hands aren't even on the steering wheel.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. You are abandoning the controls. But, this often brings up a very valid question regarding trauma.
I was just going to ask about that because trauma or severe historical baggage, that feels like a very real, heavy engine for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
How do we just snap out of thinking our past defines us when our nervous systems are literally reacting to it in real time?
Dyer handles this carefully.
Yeah.
He isn't claiming the events of the past didn't happen or that trauma isn't incredibly painful. The wake of the boat is real. You can lean over the railing and see the water churning.
Right. It's there.
But the belief that the wake must dictate your current and future trajectory, that is the illusion you have to break.
So the trauma happened, but it doesn't have the mechanical power to steer the boat today unless I give it that power.
Exactly. Your power to steer, your power to accelerate or change course only exists in the engine room of the present moment. If you constantly look backward, despising your past, you inadvertently bring the low energy of that past into the present engine.
You recreate the exact conditions you're trying to escape.
Yes, you have to sever the energetic tie to what always has been to actually move forward.
Which leads us to a fascinating and probably the most difficult roadblock. Because let's say we do all the work.
Yeah.
We detach from our past baggage. We stop focusing on our present lack. We still have to deal with the real boss-level manifestation blockers. Other people.
Ah, yes. The fourth obstacle.
Yeah.
Putting your attention on what others want or expect for you.
Dyer actually makes a joke about this, saying he once considered writing a book titled Your Friends Are God's Way of Apologizing for Your Relatives.
It's humorous, but it points to a very deep societal trap.
It is incredibly real, especially for younger generations. I mean, the pressure from family can be suffocating. You might have a burning passion to go into design or writing, but your parents are relentlessly pushing you toward finance or law because it's quote-unquote safe.
And we all know what happens when you resist that external pressure. You end up deeply resentful. You hang up the phone with your mother, or you leave a meeting with a hypercritical boss, and you are just fuming.
Oh, completely.
But Dyer lays down a very harsh, unyielding truth here. He says there are no justified resentments.
Wait, none? Even if someone is actively trying to sabotage you or manipulate your life choices?
None. Because resentment is a low-energy state that destroys you, not them. Returning to the Hawkins scale we talked about, resentment vibrates at a level that weakens your physical and mental reality.
Wow.
You can politely listen to someone's advice, but the moment you fixate on how angry they make you, you have adopted their low frequency. You're basically using the universe's algorithm to attract more of what they want into your life, simply because you are giving their expectations so much of your emotional bandwidth.
That is wild. We literally have to cut the cord.
We do.
So we have these 4 massive traps, focusing on missing things, dwelling on negative present facts, staring at the wake of the past, and absorbing the expectations of our relatives. Recognizing them is one thing, but how do we actually bypass them?
Right. What's the tool?
Yeah, because human brains seem evolutionarily hardwired to fall into these exact holes. What is the operational hack here?
This is where Dyer introduces a profound tool to perform that somersault into the inconceivable. He points to an ancient practice called japa meditation.
Okay, which means we are stepping away from modern psychology and going back thousands of years.
Yes. Dyer traces this specific methodology back to a teacher in India named Patanjali.
Patanjali, okay.
He lived roughly 2,300 years ago, so about 300 years before Jesus. And Patanjali was teaching people how to tap into extraordinary human potential. And a core mechanism of his teaching was japa.
I want to be careful here because this is the moment where an analytical listener might tune out and say, this sounds like woo-woo magic.
Understandable.
How exactly does japa work, mechanically speaking? What is it doing to the brain and the energy field?
It works by exploiting something Dyer calls the gap. The average human has tens of thousands of thoughts a day. They run in this continuous, often negative overlapping stream. But between every single thought, there is a gap, a microscopic fraction of a second of pure silence. Japa involves taking your inner energy entirely off the external world and stretching that gap by repeating a specific ancient sound, like the name of God, or a source mantra internally.
So it acts like a pattern interrupt?
Psychologically, yes.
Wow.
It interrupts the reticular activating system's focus on the negative, and energetically, by resting in that gap, you stop broadcasting the weakening frequencies of fear and lack.
Okay, that makes sense.
Dyer suggests that in this space of high-frequency silence, you attract dormant forces from the universe. You basically align your engine room with pure intention.
And he actually tried to modernize this, right? He recorded this specific audio on a CD to make it accessible for people.
He did.
And he donated all the proceeds to charities, including one specifically for a woman in a wheelchair whose only deep intention was simply to no longer be dependent on others.
Yes. And what is really fascinating is Dyer's claim that you don't even necessarily need to be sitting in a dark room doing deep meditation to benefit from this. Just being in the presence of a higher energy field begins to shift your reality.
Give me a practical example of that, because applying a 2,300-year-old mantra to modern life seems difficult. How does a CD protect me from, say, the sheer rage of sitting in awful gridlock traffic on a Tuesday?
Okay, think about the mechanics of being in terrible traffic.
Yeah.
If you sit there gripping the steering wheel, feeding the frustration, you are in a weakening energy state. Your stress hormones are spiking, your muscles are tense, and your frequency is plummeting. You are completely focused on what is.
Yeah, you're probably taking a picture of the bumper-to-bumper cars and sending it to the group chat.
Firing off resentful energy into the digital ether. Exactly! But Dyer suggests that if you play high-energy music in that car, he references a beautiful rendition of the Prayer of St. Francis sung by a vocalist named Sky. Or if you silently repeat a japa mantra, you forcefully override your internal frequency. You pull your attention off the traffic and enter the gap.
So it's not that the mantra parts the cars like the Red Sea.
No. It fundamentally alters how you interact with your environment. The traffic ceases to be a problem because your mind is no longer operating on the frequency of a problem.
Oh, wow.
You are generating peace in a chaotic environment, which makes you entirely immune to the chaos.
That sets up the final and perhaps most crucial piece of Dyer's framework perfectly, because maintaining this high energy in traffic is one thing. But
Yeah.
what happens when you are surrounded by highly critical, illogical people? When the chaos isn't cars, but human beings actively trying to drag you down, this boils down to the anyway philosophy.
Yes, the anyway philosophy is the ultimate real-world synthesis of maintaining your energy shield. Dyer shares a poem originally written by Kent Keith, which became famous because Mother Teresa actually kept it on the wall of her orphanage in Calcutta.
The tenets in this poem are incredible, especially when you view them as an energetic strategy rather than just moral advice.
Do you have them there?
Yeah, it states, people are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway.
And Dyer highlights one specific line that he knows is particularly relevant in the American hyper-competitive landscape. It says, "What you spend years building, someone may destroy overnight build anyway."
Let's apply this to a very specific, visceral, modern scenario. Say you spend a week drafting a thoughtful, innovative proposal at work, and your boss responds with a deeply passive-aggressive, dismissive email copying your entire team.
A nightmare scenario.
Right. And our default reaction is to drop to their level. We want to be passive-aggressive back, or we want to complain to our coworkers, or we just want to quit trying. Is the anyway philosophy telling us to just be a pushover, to take the high road and let people walk all over us with a smile?
It might sound like that at first, but if you look at it through the lens of energy, it is the exact opposite of being a pushover. It is a massive, almost fiercely selfish power move
How is letting someone dismiss you a power move?
because it makes your inner energy completely untouchable. Think about it. If you only do good work to get your boss's approval, your energy is entirely dependent on them. They hold the remote control to your frequency.
Oh, man.
If they are rude to you, your energy crashes. You are at their mercy.
But if I do excellent work anyway,
If you do excellent work anyway, if you are kind anyway, you are refusing to let someone else's illogical low vibration energy drag down your frequency.
that is so powerful.
You aren't being kind to change them. You are being kind to keep your own energetic engine room pure and highly functional. You are deploying an energetic shield.
It's like saying, your bad behavior does not get to dictate my internal state. That shifts the entire paradigm of how we deal with difficult people.
As the poem beautifully concludes, and as Dyer points out to cement this philosophy, in the final analysis, it is all between you and God. Or, if you prefer secular terms, between you and your highest self. It was never between you and them anyway.
So to bring this entirely into focus for you listening right now, true manifesting isn't a magic trick you perform by cutting out pictures for a vision board. It is a ruthless daily energy audit.
Yes, an audit.
You have to actively stop putting your attention on what's missing in your life. You have to stop agonizing over your current negative circumstances. You must turn your back on the wake of the boat. And you have to completely sever your emotional reliance on what your relatives or your society expects of you.
And you must remember the single most empowering truth in Dyer's entire framework. Your mind created everything in your life that you currently call a problem.
Which sounds harsh.
It does sound harsh initially, but it is profoundly liberating because it means your mind is the exact, perfectly calibrated tool required to build the solution.
Right.
It begins by finding that microscopic gap between your thoughts, shifting your frequency, and living the anyway mindset, completely undisturbed by the chaos in your group chats or the world at large.
So we will leave you with this to ponder long after the audio stops today. If Wayne Dyer and David Hawkins are right, and every single thought you have is an actual physical energy that either makes you physically weaker or physically stronger in real time, what is the exact energy of the very next thought you're going to have as you take your headphones off?